Hi, it's Marilyn Harris, and this podcast is about creating an impactful legacy, whether it's about kindness to yourself or well-being or workplace culture, all
Mhm.
that stuff and wrapped into a big ball. So I'm
Mhm.
your host, Marilyn Harris, and today I have Stephanie Black. She's my guest today, and so welcome, Stephanie. So glad to have you on the show today.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's great to meet a fellow Canadian now living in the States, right?
Yeah.
So that's it's already a connection there, and I'm so happy to talk about the subjects you talk about. Mental health, wellness, kindness. They're all so important, so
Right.
important. So thank you for having me.
Hey, you're so welcome, Stephanie. I'm so looking forward to our conversation. So tell me a little bit about how you got started doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. Boy, Mary Lynn, I'll take us back a little bit, but that's okay. I was always a storyteller. I was always a person who loved radio and acting. And even though I was a shy, sensitive, introverted child, I would play act. And so I always loved playing with a microphone and telling stories. And when I moved into broadcast for a while in the beginning part of my career, one of the things that was important for me was how I treated people and how we connected. And because coming from a small town, I do feel not that cities don't have kindness, of course they do, but coming from a small town, my grandmother always was helping volunteer. I used to visit the elderly neighbors, and it was a good example of why kindness mattered. And I would see my father also always be kind.
Right.
And so that was always important to me wherever I worked. And then when I had children, I realized sometimes there was a little bit of meanness and things that would happen on the playground
Yeah.
that didn't always feel good. And so I started watching Random Acts of Kindness Foundation. You know their work. They have amazing videos and amazing stories about how to bring kindness in.
Mhm.
And I'd ask my kids every Friday we are a Jewish household. I married a Jewish man, and we have Shabbat. And
Yeah.
I'd ask my kids to do something kind.
Yeah.
And so when they were little, that was pretty easy to do. And they'll pick up someone's book, hold the door. And I started listening to the videos more. And a Hebrew teacher overheard me, reminding my eldest daughter to be kind. And she said, "Would you come in and speak to our class about kindness?" And a light bulb went off. I was almost going to go, "No, no, no, it's okay." And then I went, "Yeah, what an honor to come and speak about kindness." And I started collecting all the information and all the research, working with, teachers for input and designing a curriculum. And then I started going in to speak to schools about why kindness matters using psychological research, obviously, in statistics, and making it, because I was a presenter, making videos and making it interactive. And then I designed a plan for classes with the teachers' input, because they were the most important people that had to get involved, not just hearing me talk,
Right.
but coming up with kind act ideas for classes. And then from there, went into corporations
Mhm.
and speaking about the role of kindness within corporations. And now I've branched out into more mental wellness
Yeah.
and rituals and routines to give yourself incredible self kindness.
Yeah. Yeah. And as we were talking before the call started, is that basically, the self awareness and self
Mm,
care is so
mm.
important to our workplace. Mm.
Yeah, it starts with that. If we are not compassionate and take care of ourselves, then we're not going to be psychologically healthy to go into a workplace. And when we feel overburdened or we have a leader who doesn't seem to care, it's
Right.
hard to be caring in our environment if we haven't worked on ourselves.
Right.
And one of the ways when I speak to businesses and companies now is, here are ways to be mentally healthy. And if you take care of yourself with
Mhm.
sacred rituals and routines, you have the energy to give to other people.
Right. Right. And so, what do you think some of the issues, and when you talk to managers, they tell you? Do
Mm.
they have any issues with that, or do they obstacles about that conversation?
Sure. I think some managers feel sometimes not supported,
Yeah.
that it's the company line, they have to do certain things, they can feel constricted.
Mhm.
Kindness isn't always emphasized.
Yeah.
Leadership training. There's a lot of talk about leadership books, but how often are leaders being trained? I mean, there's a great organization in Toronto, the Roundtable, and they do great work with training middle managers about leading with heart. And they used to do random acts of kindness with me at Christmas time, where they would give ideas for how to be kind in the workplace. But I think a lot of people are frustrated if you don't have empathy
Mm-hmm.
given to you in the workplace. It's hard to go the full mile, right? The full
Right.
Monty, because you're already tired and you've got kids, or you're on your own and you're trying to make ends meet. And if you don't feel that people care about you, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to put your heart into the workplace. And often people will leave, not because of the money,
Yeah.
but because of the way they feel connected in the workplace.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's so true. It has to be reciprocal. Like, if you're not caring for yourself and you're not caring for your employees or whoever they are, then that does lead to a bigger challenge, right?
Absolutely, Mary Lynn. And asking yourself, COVID's been the great awakener in some ways, because we couldn't be distracted and be busy with things that would keep us from thinking about what was important, and even honoring our core values. But
Right.
asking yourself, what is really important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what really is important so for me,
Yeah.
during the pandemic, I went deeper into my rituals.
Mm-hmm.
I get up earlier in the morning than anyone else. I
Mm-hmm.
meditate,
Yeah.
I do qigong, and I journal.
Yeah.
So I deepened my rituals, and also work on shadow sides. What are parts of yourself that you are not looking at? Because when you live together in COVID, I have two kids, a husband, a dog, and a cat. Everything comes out, the raw. I always like to say raw, real, and messy,
Right.
right? We
Right.
are. We
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
And I think honoring those parts of you a little bit more. Like, I can speak to you, and I can present to companies, and I can write out a blog, but am I going to leave my keys in the other room? Am I going to forget where I put something? Absolutely. Am I going to, mess up something or burn a pot? Yes, because that's the other side of myself, right? We're
Right.
not letting go of this perfectionist trait to do everything well, and being more self compassionate to ourselves in our workplaces and in our lives is
Right.
so important.
Mm-hmm. And I want to explore that a little bit more with you, Steffi, about
Yeah.
your your dark side or your bright
Ooh.
side or whatever you call it. So can we go there? Can we just
Absolutely, absolutely, certainly. The dark side, impatience,
Mhm.
impatience. So I'm a Celtic background. I'll pour all those poor Celtic people out there. I'm blaming them for it, but I can have a short temper, a short fuse. If
Yeah.
I'm doing things like, you were talking about going to the bank, and I was just at the bank, luckily with a lovely person who listened.
Yeah.
But if you give me a form online
Yeah.
and a bunch of paperwork to fill out,
Yeah.
I'm of the age where I need to speak to someone. So I have a Coursera account, the free software where you can take courses.
Right.
And for some reason, I had signed up for two accounts. I didn't realize I did, because I changed my email, and
Okay.
I couldn't get into the certificate program. And that can set, like, I get really impatient.
Right.
And there's no one to talk to. So I can get really, and my daughters will come in and have a question. And this is the shadow side. I can't talk right now. I'm in the middle of doing a form. And then my one daughter's going, Mom, I balanced 10 courses. What's the big deal with one form for a course? And that's the shadow side. I get anxious around forms and administration and financial things. So how I'm self-kind to myself, Mary Lynn, is before I do things like taxes or things like, I will actually talk to myself. I will go, our bodies have cellular memory. I will say, okay, Steph, you got this.
Yeah.
Take it one thing at a time. Put
Yeah.
your phone out of the room. Make sure no one bothers you, because I need pure quiet when I do
Yeah.
things I don't like. And set yourself up so you can be in a good space when you do challenges. And Mary Lynn, I will reset myself with, I don't know if you've heard of the work of Heart Math Institute,
Yeah.
but they do incredible work around heart coherence.
Yeah.
I will do an exercise. You want to try it with me right now? You want me to show you the
Sure.
one I do? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. So put your hand on your heart,
Okay.
close your eyes.
Okay.
And this is when you've lost your keys, your phone, you have to do something stressful. And you're going to take a deep breath in for 5 and a deep breath out for 5. And you're going to think of something that you appreciate. It can be a thing, it can be a person, it can be a place. But keep breathing in for 5 and out for 5. and go to that place where you appreciate that thing and have an inner smile, and keep breathing in and keep breathing out. And now you can flutter and open your eyes, and you've reset your heart space. Do you feel a little bit of a difference in that by
Mhm.
reconnecting to yourself?
Right. Yeah, I guess when I was doing that, I'm going, oh my gosh, even though I appreciate a lot of things, I really need, I guess for me, I'm going, oh my God, I got to do more of that.
Right? You know, before you do what you were talking about, what you're working on right now for a friend, and to make it
Right.
easier for people if someone passes,
Yeah.
is if you reset yourself, you go into a calmer space.
Right.
And I need that. So the shadow side is
Mm-hmm.
that impatient, short tempered, overwhelmed by forms and paperwork and those kind of things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, how I've learned is to go to a safe spot, a safe place,
Right.
and then go into, I believe, Mary Lynn, I believe we have a human energy field. I don't know if
Right.
you
Yeah.
follow those people, Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden,
Yeah.
Donna Eden. I believe in the human energy field. That's why I
Right.
do Qigong. And
Right.
so, if we calm the energy around us, then we can go into that place of working on financials in a
Mm-hmm.
better space.
Yeah.
So the shadow side can still be there, but I can try to reset when I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm so huge on tools and rituals. And
Right.
then I can also come from a more heart space. Like, so I'm on the phone with the bank or a telemarketer,
Yeah.
and you're impatient, right?
Yeah.
If I can go to that heart space and just, deep breaths
Yeah.
and think about a response instead of a reaction, I'm
Mm-hmm.
much kinder to the
Right.
person I'm dealing with. Let's say you have a problem at the bank or with your finances. That can make most of us have heart palpitations. What do you mean that $1,000 is gone? What do you mean? So I will actually say to myself, it's okay. They're going to work it out.
Yeah.
And then I can speak to that person with more kindness. And I've apologized to people at banks before, or financial institutions, because I can get anxious about money things.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am," or whatever. I can't find, and I'm like, I know you're going to find it. We're
Yeah.
both okay. I'm sorry if I'm a little impatient. This
Yeah.
is one of my, so that's one, I gave you a long-winded story, but
Yeah.
that's a shadow aspect where I go to my mental health tool
Right.
to reset from that place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's a great tool to use. Yeah, it's awesome. When you're thinking about the keys, I lost my keys. I always say, Saint Anthony, help me find my keys. And then I just forget about it. And then the answer will come. Go look there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there's that
Yes.
kind of thing. That's kind of what I do. I just go to the angels and say, okay, Saint Anthony, help me find this. Or
Right?
where did I put that passport?
Right. Right. Right.
you know?
Exactly. When
So
I went to
yeah.
Christian boarding school, you know what the word was? Nothing is hidden from a child of God. So I remember that one. So
Yeah.
sometimes I will try to do that when I start laughing, right? I'm like, it's
Yeah.
coming back again, that Christian upbringing at boarding school. And
Yeah.
I'll bring that word up. Or I will also close my eyes and
Hmm.
try to visualize where it might be.
Yeah.
Like, because your memory, sometimes your memories will be
Yeah.
sparked by, oh, maybe it's under the car seat or under, but
Yeah.
whatever puts us in a space of calmness means we'll most likely find something.
Right. And as you were saying with the heart space here, that if we're in there and just being grateful for whatever it is at that moment, then it also sends out the energy to that person, I believe,
Yes.
too.
I believe too. I believe too. Before you
Definitely.
enter a room, if more workplaces, imagine if the Heart Math Institute teaches resilience, heart based training.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if more workplaces worked with that before they went into a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
actually calmed themselves down. They took deep breaths. They put their hand on their heart. If they can't, if they're in a public place, they can just do it quietly, go to the washroom
Yeah.
and reset their energy system and send out even healing energy to the room,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
It would set the tone for a better meeting. It
Right.
just would. You
Yeah.
know, people used to pray. People used
Yeah.
to pray before a meal, or it doesn't matter if you're religious or not. I'm just
Yeah.
talking about traditions or customs.
Right.
Pray before a meal. You said the word. It's that moment of appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
And gratitude and appreciation are two of the highest vibrations
Right.
we emit. People don't realize that. They think, oh, why do I have to practice gratitude again? It actually pumps you full of oxytocin and serotonin. You feel better
Right.
if you take a moment to appreciate. So before I came on the talking to you, I thought we haven't connected. Let's go to okay, this is a moment I want to give space
Mm-hmm.
to Mary Lynn and I having this exchange because I came back in. Remember, I hadn't brushed my
Yeah.
hair. I came from the bank. I was like, but I knew you would give me, I didn't worry. I'm like, I think it'll be fine. Mary Lynn, can I go brush my hair?
Yeah.
Yes.
Of course you
Right?
can.
Yes. And we're so much more human. COVID also, we have Zoom. Our
Yeah.
cat is in the background. A child runs in their pajamas. Life again is messy. We
Yeah.
don't have to have this perfectionist professional image all the time. I think we've become much more real in some ways. You hear noise in the background. Oh, is that, yeah, that's my dog. We just got a puppy. You know how many COVID puppies there are.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, really? And you connect with people on a human basis
Right.
much more now because we're all struggling. We're all in the boat of the pandemic. I mean, some of us are out more than Toronto, but
Right.
in general, we're all in this together. When I went to the bank, I had a lovely conversation with the woman of who's married to someone, and we talked about how often women are still expected with working all day to still do the dinners too,
Right.
no matter how
Right.
far along we've come.
Yeah.
Most of households still have a lot of women doing the dinners and laundry. And
Right.
it's kind of interesting. We had this lovely discussion before we went into the financial
Right.
discussion because I feel there is more heart-based communication now. Do you
Right.
agree?
Right. I agree because you have made that connection with that person. Right. And now you're more dealing with a real person rather than the personality of the banker or the personality of whoever you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And because we're all in this together in the
Mm.
pandemic, the whole world
Yeah.
slowed down.
Yeah.
That realize that we are all interconnected. Nature always knows it's interconnected. A tree dies in the forest, it gives its nutrients to all the other trees.
Right.
It is our individualistic culture where we forget
Yeah.
that we are connected.
Right.
So when we do the work on ourselves,
Mhm.
we actually help other people. In the work done on the nervous system, on the
Right.
polyvagal theory, they call when you calm yourself, you send, it's not through your words, it's through your neuroceptic pathways. You help the other person around you feel calm.
Hmm.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. So we benefit others by
Hmm.
healing ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So
Mhm.
some of can you give us a success story with a client that you worked with that you're really proud, you love to tell the story?
Sure, I can give. I haven't been asked that in a long time. I guess the biggest thing for me is I journey with the client.
Right.
So I don't know more than any of them. When they come to me, often we teach what we need to know. And so my biggest accomplishment, or not mine, our biggest accomplishment together is walking the journey of from self-judgment and
Hmm.
self-criticism to more self-love.
Hmm.
And I think it's a constant journey. So I have clients that have been with me for years.
Hmm.
And then I have some clients that have just been with me for I even do a life and career momentum program. And so it's 3 to 6 months and that they touch base and let me know how they're doing. And they still use the tools because we create a self-care plan and a life and career plan that you can use for the rest of your life. So our last segment will be, what's your personal vision of who you are today?
Right.
What are your core values?
Right.
And what are the areas in mental fitness, relationships, volunteer, what are your intentions? And Mary Lynn, I try to stay away from goals
Yeah.
because goals are a thing you think you have to accomplish, and
Right.
you'll only be happy when.
Yeah.
Whereas an intention
Yeah.
is you saying, I'd really like to feel more inner peace and be more peaceful. And
Hmm.
that's an intention. And you start putting yourself in that energy field. I'm a big fan of the work of, as I mentioned, Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
Trevor Blake, Marie Manichuri. And they always talk about going to, use your resourceful past to go to your preferred future. You're not in a good place right now. Don't look to your external circumstances to make you happy, because
Hmm.
that is only, according to many studies, 10% of what makes you happy. 40% is your habits and your internal state of mind.
Mhm.
So if I can work with clients and have them learn to love themselves more and
Mhm.
create rituals and routines that give them sacred space, Mary Lynn, like I'm sacred space, the pause between the sentences. Where are they sitting each day to honor who they are?
Mhm.
That is a testament to me that a
Mhm.
client has started to love themselves. That's the most important thing to me. It's not one success story,
Yeah.
it's more that they have worked with tools and rituals. So when they get anxious, when they feel overwhelmed, when they're beating themselves up, they go back to, let's say it's just the heart coherence technique. Let's say out of today, one person
Yeah.
starts doing the heart coherence technique.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me because breaths and connecting to yourself each day create more calmness in your field, and it's more, there's passive calmness and there's active calmness, and you want to teach yourself to teach your subconscious to learn patterns that are more healthy and
Right.
open you up to more joy and
Right.
peace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, because we both agree that if you work on yourself, then you become a better coworker and a better employee and all those other terms that people like to use in the workplace. So, yeah,
Yeah, and once again, with us,
yeah,
don't look at what your coworkers are doing wrong. Don't
yeah,
look at what your family's doing wrong.
yeah.
Look at what you can do right. And
Okay.
energetically be for something, not against it. So if someone says to me their workplace is gossipy
Yeah.
and negative, okay. So where can you go and contribute to the positive environment?
Mhm.
Where can you, well, maybe watching less news is
Yeah.
one thing, right?
Yeah.
Maybe taking time to meditate each day is another thing.
Yeah.
But learn to either walk away from the complainers or turn to them politely and go, so what are you going to do about it? Right? It's a good energetic trick. If someone keeps complaining in your space, okay, so what are you going to do about it?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I love. No one works in a perfect environment. You're not always surrounded by upbeat, positive people. That's just life.
Yeah.
And sometimes our greatest challenges are our greatest teachers
Yeah.
because we're not meant to have it all easy. We're human beings. I believe we're spiritual beings living a human life.
Yeah.
So we come down here to learn certain lessons,
Mhm.
and we're more powerful the more we place our interests, believe it or not,
Mhm.
our interests first,
Mhm.
and then we have more to give others. You know the story on the
Yeah.
oxygen mask, right?
Right.
It's if you're an introvert, don't go out there spreading yourself too thin. That's actually taking away from your energy field. If you're an extrovert, then absolutely go out there and be with lots of people and regroup.
Yeah.
But all of us has to honor who we are
Right.
uniquely.
Right. Totally, totally. As you were talking, I used to this one workplace. It was just horrific. But anyway, I just told everybody, okay, you guys love to gossip. I can't change that, but I'm
Mhm.
going to change you and tell you that you're now going to catch somebody doing good and gossip about that. It was amazing how quickly the organization changed and everybody else was starting to do the same because they realized, oh my God, this is a really good place to be. I love coming here, and so past clients were returning, and so because they felt that positive vibe, that caring vibe, I guess that's what you would say. But yeah, I mean, that was just my way of doing it because I'm going, okay, how can I solve this? I'm in charge,
Right.
so what am I going to do to solve it?
It was just a brilliant exercise. Gossip about what is good.
Yeah,
Once again, it goes to that energetic exercise of
yeah,
be for something good, not
right,
against it. Don't look at what's wrong
yeah,
because where you put your energy on, that expands.
right,
So if you focus on what is wrong, then what is wrong will keep expanding. Or if
right,
you teach your brain neuropsychology, what is good in my day?
yeah,
Then you are less focused on what is wrong, you
right,
know, and go to what feels good. It sounds so 60s, right? Feel good. I just want to feel good. God, we should bring that back. The age
yeah,
of Aquarius is here. We should bring
yeah,
it back. But it's true.
Yeah.
Stop thinking about what you need to do. Start going to what feels good. Oh, it feels good to me at my work break to take a 5-minute walk around the block because I know I'll be more mentally healthy when I come back to the work. Then do it.
Yeah.
We often aren't stopping and pausing enough, though we are more at this time, to
Yeah.
look at what makes me feel good.
Right.
And again, going back to that study on the well-being, on your natural well-being, they say 50% is genetics. And this could be updated, but I'm giving you the overview. 50% genetics, only 10% circumstances contribute to your well-being, but 40%, this is the number that's important,
Yeah.
is your internal state of mind.
Right.
So you can, there's other exercises we can use. Another great one, Trevor Blake always shared. If you're in a room full of negative people, picture a bell jar around you. Whatever negativity comes your way, it
Yeah.
just bounces off you. And a famous, I forget his name, but Trevor Blake shared this story. They did it with a famous golfer who was competing against Jack Nicklaus, and all the crowds would kind of boo him because he wasn't Jack Nicklaus. And it was hard to focus
Yeah.
when you're trying to play your best golf game and you
Right.
have this negative energy. So he would picture a glass bell jar around him when he went into circumstances
Mm-hmm.
that were more draining.
Right.
And that's what I call a ritual. What works for him
Yeah.
might not work for someone else.
Right.
Someone else might, Mary Lynn, you might picture yourself surrounded by white light before you go into a negative environment. It's different for everyone,
Right.
but protect yourself how you need to protect yourself. And that's why going quiet and figuring out what that
Mhm.
is so important.
So important.
The book, do you know the book? You probably do, but I can't. The Four Agreements. Do you
Yeah.
know the Four Agreements?
Yeah. I just ordered another copy. I keep giving it away.
You got to keep one for yourself.
Yeah.
Imagine if workplaces, instead of just books on building a great business, got the Four Agreements. Let's share with everybody what it is. Be impeccable with your words, speak
Right.
with integrity, avoid using the word to speak against others. Don't take anything personally.
Yeah.
Nothing others do is because of you. What
Right.
others say and do is because of their own reality.
Right.
Don't make assumptions. If you think someone's talking about you or not being respectful, have the courage to speak up and say, would you mind sharing with me why you asked me to do that and not someone else?
Yeah.
And last, always do your best. You can
Yeah.
be depressed, feel not well, but just do the best you can do.
Right.
And love you. And I would add, and love yourself, love your messy self through it all.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the book because I think it's a
Right?
great owner's manual for businesses. But
Oh,
yeah, I totally agree with you.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And listen, the book by Jim Collins, Good to Great, is
Yeah.
another great manual for workplaces on how to build a great culture. There's excellent books on, and Simon Sinek, Knowing Your Why.
Right.
Those are so important too. But if you know your core values as a business, if leadership teaches people to care about how they treat each other,
Yeah.
then it's going to ripple down. I think it was Steve Schroeder, and I'm forgetting the name of Creative Works, who would only, and he was a studier of the Dalai Lama, who would
Okay.
only hire people who were caring.
Mhm.
Why? He felt skills could be taught. But
Right.
if employees weren't caring to one another, they weren't going to have a great culture.
Right. Right. And all kind of culture comes from the top down. So, if he's there,
Yes.
then he can
Yes.
ingrain that with everybody else. And if the other people don't want to ingrain it or adopt it, then you don't have a
Absolutely.
caring person.
Absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Engagement with a warm and caring workplace is the biggest predictor of
Right.
workplace happiness.
Right. Right. Well, thank you so much. I'd love to keep talking with you, Stephanie, but our time is coming to a close. So we'll have to do
Thank
this
you.
again
Thank you,
soon.
Mary Lynn. I didn't even realize. Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm hoping that I really enjoy your conversation. I'm sure that we can do it at another time, and we can provide more
We love it.
insights to help people. But I love just the heart thing, heart mapping, because that's a really simple technique that anybody can do, whether you're in public or not. So thank you, Stephanie, for that. I really appreciate you. Any
Absolutely.
final words you'd like to say before we close out?
First of all, thank you for the connection today, Mary Lynn,
Yeah.
and love your real, raw, and messy self.
Is that your title of your
That's
book?
what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe, Marilyn. Maybe,
Maybe, yeah.
right?
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you, Stephanie. And to everybody else, take care of each other because kindness is all that we have for each other. So thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you all next time. Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.